Welcome to Elevation 740, produced by Jetta Media Group and hosted by the LC Valley Chamber of Commerce. My name is Mark Losh, and I'm the CEO of the LC Valley Chamber of Commerce. My guest today is Ed Freysinger, CEO of St. Joseph Regional Medical Center. Thank you so much for making time to join us today and share these great new visions that are happening in our region.
Well, Mark, thank you for inviting me. This is a great opportunity.
Well, I know it's nice. It's cool off a little bit, a little easier to get down here, and it's a little cooler in our studio today for this. And I hope that you have a wonderful time. We just want to have a conversation about what's happening, and it seems to be there's a lot of news going on right now with St. Joe's, and you had a recent acquisition. Can you tell us about that?
Yeah, and I'm really looking at it that it's really about two organizations coming together.
Okay.
And it's the Catalyst Medical Group and the St. Joseph Regional Medical Center. Catalyst Medical Group is a large multi-specialty group practice. And then, of course, the hospital. We run the hospital, and we have a large multi-specialty group practice as well. And over the last few years, we've worked together in a variety of forums, really specifically looking at how we're caring for our Medicare and Medicaid communities. And what we learned is that we really have an aligned mission and vision and how we want to care for our communities.
What are some of the new services that the folks in the Valley might experience with this partnership?
Well, what it is it's really a complementary model that we brought together. When we look at the medical community that we employ at the medical center, as well as who's involved at Catalyst, is that we really don't duplicate any services. We have general surgery, wound care, and a variety of other programs. And then Catalyst has other specialty services, including orthopedics. The only area that we overlap is really in primary care. And so what this does is really gives us a broad spectrum of services under one roof.
It sounds like you're basically enhancing the experience for your patients in the Valley. Is that a fair statement?
Yes, it's going to be focusing on not only how are we improving their experience, but access to care, integration of care, and really the transitions of care.
You do a lot more than what's happening inside your hospitals and your facilities. Talk a little bit about the community and St. Joe's commitment to the community.
Yeah, well, we have over 120-year history, and we plan to be here well over another 120 years.
So.
And our role in the community is we think is fairly substantial. Of course, we're a major employer. We have over 700 employees, and they're all a part of the community, and their salaries and income is used to support the local economy. But we also participate in a variety of different activities and events in the community, sponsorships, and other activities. But probably one of the major things we do is we're a major provider of healthcare, of course. And we do, we pull together annually what we call a community benefit, where we look at what is the value of what we provide to the community outside of our general services. And when we look at it, we provide over $20 million in community benefit. Now, $14 million of that is related to what's called undercompensated and uncompensated care. So free care or payers that don't pay the cost of care. Then we pay about another $6 million just in taxes. As a for-profit entity, we pay taxes. And a big portion of that, of course, are property taxes, which are used to fund local police, fire, and other social services.
Talk a little bit about the difference between St. Joe's Medical Center and a critical access hospital. What are the differences there? I'm not familiar with the difference.
Well, the difference is some of them are very technical, but a community critical access hospital is limited to 25 beds. Okay. But they're also really put in place to ensure that there's access to care in communities that may not otherwise have had access to care. And they have a different payment system that helps support care in communities that may not otherwise have had providers available to them locally. But at St. Joe's, we're not a critical access. We're actually a major referral center. That's why we're a medical center. And we are the only level 3 emergency department in the community. We have interventional cardiology that is platinum rated. We have interventional radiology, which is a service that is very uncommon for a community of this size. We have a very, very robust OB program that has been recognized by U.S. News and World Report for its excellence in care. And the hospital as a whole, we've been rated as one of the 100 top hospitals for a community of this size in the country.
Wow.
We're also A-rated by an entity called Leapfrog, one of only 4 in the state of Idaho.
Okay.
And so I'm very, very proud, not of the ratings and not of the accolades. I'm proud of my people.
Yes, the people are the key to everything.
Oh, absolutely. I'm just blessed with 700 wonderful, brilliant people.
So with this acquisition, this merger, this partnership, do you see any changes in the care for your patients and the people of the Valley?
Yes. What it does is it provides us a larger base to continue to recruit not only the services that we have that we need to expand and for succession planning for people who are retiring, but it also gives us a larger platform to recruit for new services for the community. And so we're actively recruiting in a variety of areas to not only continue to provide services, but to expand services. So,
What are some things you see in the future?
well, probably one of the major things I see in the future is how are we really enhancing access to care? One of the major challenges that we have in healthcare is accessing care. And healthcare, in many instances, is constricting. When you look at across the country, many institutions are actually reducing the scope or the services they're providing, and we're actually expanding. A little bit over a year ago, we opened a brand new 10-bed acute rehab unit, which historically was not available locally. You had to go 2 hours to the north to access that. We now have that here locally so that our community no longer has to travel for that.
Talk more about what that facility does for those that don't know.
Yeah, so that's for patients who require additional physical rehab. In some instances, that includes physical therapy, occupational therapy, speech therapy, and the like. And what it does is think about somebody who may have had a stroke, and they need more care and services in a more intense environment. That's what we're able to provide on an inpatient basis so that they can learn what are called their activities of daily living again. How do you cook? How do you use a washer and dryer? How do you feed yourself?
Mm-hmm.
And we're able to do that all locally now, where historically you had to leave the community.
Technology is changing every single industry in the world.
Mm-hmm.
Talk about some of the technology changes that are happening with with St. Joe's.
Well, some of the major areas are really everywhere. But in our OR, we have robots. We use robots for our orthopedic surgery. We have a robot for general surgery, and we just purchased a brand new robot to support neurosurgery and ortho spine surgery. So just in our OR, we have tremendous amount of technology. And we're also in the process of replacing one of our linear accelerators. We have 2 linear accelerators here, and those are used for the treatment of cancer. And again, had we not have those 2 pieces of equipment here, people would have to travel 2 to 5 hours to get that service. And our 2 new pieces of equipment, we put one in about a year and a half ago. We're putting in a second one. They're 2 of the most advanced pieces of equipment for linear accelerators in the Northwest.
So this is expanding your cancer treatment regionally and locally, so people don't have to travel out of area or out of state.
Exactly. Yep. And then about a year and a half ago, we also installed what's called a PET CT scanner. PET scanner, again, is a piece of technology to identify where different tumors, et cetera, are. And we were using a van that would come in for 2 days a week. And now we're able to run it 5 days a week, and we've been able to over double our capacity. So again, people get more timely access to care. And as they get more timely access to care, we can get them into treatment quicker. And getting into treatment quicker helps them get better quicker.
Ed, talk a bit more some of the new things that are happening on the horizon with St. Joe's.
Well, I think one of the biggest things that's going to be coming down is how are we focusing on what I call transitions of care versus transactions. Historically, much of healthcare is focused on seeing your doctor in an individual instance. And we're going to be looking at really how are we looking at care in a broader range. And we have a tremendous example of that here, and that's our oncology services. We have medical oncology, we have radiation oncology, we have a PET scanner, we have our imaging services, we have surgeons, et cetera, that work together to care for and treat oncology patients. So in our medical oncology program, I've got 3 oncologists and 2 nurse practitioners, and they're able to provide what's called medical oncology services, and that's where chemo is generally managed. And so we have a very strong and very, very talented group of oncology providers. And then some patients not only receive the chemotherapy, they need radiation therapy, which is using radiation to treat a tumor. And we have a radiation oncology program, as we discussed earlier. I have 2 linear accelerators. We're replacing the second. And we have a very, again, talented team there that is focused on how are we treating you very effectively and very quickly. And our 2 new pieces of equipment have allowed us to not only treat more patients, but treat them more quickly.
So that means that they're getting treatment locally. They can go home at night in their beds. They have their family. They have the support. Instead of having to travel 200 or 300 miles to get this, they can stay right here.
Exactly. And we actually have some patients who maybe live an hour or 2 away, and they'll actually bring a camper, and we'll set up the camper on our grounds so that they can stay there, so that it lessens their travel. Even though an hour may not seem a lot, if you've gone through some treatments, it can be a rather taxing time. So we have people that just set up their campers, and we set up water and electrical for them, and they just stay right there on the campus.
That's a wonderful service. It's the little things that make a difference.
Exactly.
So there's some folks that are watching this that may not know much about who you are. Talk about who Ed is. What are some things that got you where you are now as the CEO of St. Joe's Regional Medical Center?
Well, I was very, very fortunate. I've just been blessed. I will just say that. And I do this because I love what I do.
Mm-hmm.
And I followed in my father's footsteps. My father used to run a system back in Michigan. I'm from Michigan.
Okay.
And, he just thoroughly enjoyed what he did. And he always taught all of us, I'm from 6, and he taught all of us that, we really have a role, and our role is to support everybody in our community. And so that's what we've dedicated ourselves to. And so I have an undergraduate degree in business, and I have a master's in health services administration. And I've worked my way, through different roles. As I like to say, I got my first hospital when I was 32.
Okay.
And I figured if they were silly enough to give it to me, I'm silly enough to take it. And ever since then, I've just had a wonderful time learning and growing and developing and really being humbled. I think the one of the greatest things I can say is my employees humble me every day, because they just do things that are just spectacular. They make such a difference to every individual they care for.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm just in awe of them.
The community is very important to all of us. Healthcare is a staple, a cornerstone of a community. When people can stay in the community, stay in their own region, sometimes even in their own bed for treatment, is very important. So it sounds like all these different things that you're putting in place and all this growth is really focused on the end result of that person getting healthy fast.
Exactly. And we are also focused not just on how do you get healthy quickly, but how do you stay healthy so you don't get sick. And so, much of what we do, especially in our primary care clinics, is we focus on how are we helping you not get sick. So we do screenings, we do all kinds of different evaluations to understand, what's your family history of diabetes or cancer or cardiac, et cetera. And based on that, how are we helping you understand what you can do differently to help avoid those diseases? Because the best way to treat the disease is not get it.
So treatment's important, but it sounds like you're really focusing on education also.
Exactly. And that comes through our physician practices. Our physicians are, again, just brilliant people, and they care deeply for every patient they care for. And so they help them understand, how can we get better? I can tell you, in my own situation, I'm a diabetic, and my physician helps me understand, how do I get better? How do I exercise differently? How do I eat better? Et cetera, so that I'm able to manage it and keep it under control.
I thank you so much for our time today. What are some things you might want to share that we didn't discuss today?
Well, again, probably the biggest thing I want to share is I just want to thank the community. And I want to also recognize all the other providers in the community. We are blessed, again, to have 4 hospitals locally. We're blessed to have a number of other physicians and other practitioners, and every one of them is dedicated to how do we help people feel better? How do we help people get better? And how do we help people not get ill?
Key right there is just help.
Yep,
Flat out. How can we help people?
exactly.
Ed, thank you for your time today. I know that you're very busy at the hospital and at the center. So taking time out to do this is important for us in the community. So thanks for being here.
Well, and one of my favorite surgeons I ever worked with, I asked him, are you busy? He says, I'm never too busy. I always have time.
Terrific. Well, thank you so much.
Thank you.
And thank you for joining us at another Elevation 740. Thank you, Jetta Media Group, for this great publication. We hope to see you next time.